way out of this life, so you gotta go where you know there's no doubt, no doubt. Hold on tight, take to the fight of this life. There is no strife, let it go. Fill with love in your heart and you'll know where to go. Come on. Have you ever noticed that when you sing, your accent falls away? Well, that's because music speaks the language of humanity. What is the language of humanity? The language of humanity. Oh, do you have the clicker? Thank you. The language of humanity is what unites us all. It's what transcends cultural boundaries. It's what's consistent through all cultures. It's things like gratitude, understanding, um, diligence, respect, generosity, and above all, love. Now, we all need to take up and learn to speak the language of humanity. So that's what I'm going to be speaking to you about today. And then, I'm also going to be talking to you about how you can revitalize your culture, which is to say, how you can use the language of humanity and make it relevant to your local context, which is historically specific and specific to your place. Now you might be wondering, now that we're speaking of language, why is this American talking to you about culture in South Africa? And I think that the video I'm about to show might serve to explain. Keep an eye on this boy in the white shirt. Well, that's actually me back in year 2000 at age 7, watching a traditional song and dance group at the V&A waterfront. That was really an incredible video, and you should take note that that's a traditional song and dance group, as was mentioned in my introduction. But this was on a family vacation to South Africa with my parents, who grew up in South Africa and then moved to the States in 1991 due to the political instability of the time, and to offer myself and my sister a better future. And I want to spend the next 5 minutes telling you my personal story, because I believe that stories are the most impactful way of communicating a point. And I'm going to relate my story then to my talk objectives of the language of humanity. So around that age, at age 7, I realized I'm somehow different from those in my very typical town of Dartmouth, Massachusetts, which is about an hour and a half south of Boston. Whether it was hearing my mom and dad's South African accent and dialect, or the cultural South African goods that lined our house, or even just being Jewish in a predominantly Catholic neighborhood celebrating the holidays, it caused me to self-reflect and wonder, what is my identity, and who am I exactly, and what are different ways of being in the world. And such trips as that, where you see other ways of performing, like traditional song and dance, that expanded my imagination from a young age. Fast forward to age 13, and I had my own personal rite of passage, which was my bar mitzvah, which in the Jewish tradition is when you enter manhood. But for me, wasn't just because I was entering manhood. It was also because I discovered the power of music, my own personal power of music. In a bar mitzvah, you stand in front of the whole community on an altar and sing, and the community was like, "Wow, this little boy, he can sing." And for me, it was really an empowering experience, and music seems to really connect you to the present moment, and connects you just with, makes you feel really alive inside, and really energized. And that was really a revelation for me. Even in the after party, I had my first jam with my dad because of this musical empowerment. He brought his guitar, and we played in front of all my friends. So from that point forward, sports kind of dropped out of my life, the typical American childhood upbringing, and music started to enter into my life. Um, Fast forward to high school, and I it was 10th grade, and there was a competition coming up at my school called the Battle of the Bands. It was the first one ever, and um, I'd heard some of the bands play at my school, and I had been writing some songs at the time. Um, and I said, you know what? I think I can do much better than these other bands. Um, so I gathered some of my friends, got a drummer, a pianist, a saxophonist, a violinist, and I played guitar and sang. And in 2.5 months, we wrote 4 songs and performed them at the Battle of the Bands. And little do you know, we actually won. And I really was so astonished by what I was able to create just by applying my mind to an idea and then being a leader and just being proactive. I didn't know what that was called at the time, but I know now that that was the entrepreneurial spirit in me. So that was ignited then. In that same year, on a recurrent trip to South Africa, which I had been making. Like for example, this is my 14th trip to Cape Town due to my grandparents, which are right here. They stay here in Cape Town and have my whole life. So we visited them. Um, it was around the time where I had to start thinking about college and what colleges want to for applicants. So it was a pretty extrinsically motivated thing that I ended up getting into an internship with Hoops for Hope, NGO in the townships that teaches basketball and life skills. Um, it started off extrinsically motivated, but then as I stepped into that environment and started interacting with these kids, I realized just what privilege I had and where I was in a historical moment, being raised by a white South African family and having this privilege of being raised in the States, and then coming to this place where kids really don't have the same opportunities I've had for musical growth or where growth of whatever might energize kids. And basically, I came away with a feeling of gratitude and a feeling that I need to share my privilege with those in the community. So by the next summer, I'm trying to figure out what am I going to do. I'm not going to do another sports community service thing. And my mom and her boyfriend James had this brilliant idea, which was to it was inspired by a DVD called Playing for Change, which was a DVD that highlighted street musicians across the world and had them play the same song at the same tempo. And they basically all played a song together. And this DVD was then sold to global markets, and the profits went back to the street musicians. So James said, "Hey, there's all these kids that busk out in the streets. Why don't you do the same thing for these kids?" So that's what I actually did. One thing led to another, led to another. I made the trip, and in only a month and a half, I came away with the Umbiyozo DVD, which you will see the trailer now. So getting back to my story, um, basically one of the things that you didn't get to see in the trailer is the interview footage. And one of the things I learned in the process of making that DVD was that um, due to the processes of globalization and historical phenomenon, the custom of traditional song and dance is actually dying at a pretty rapid rate. Kids are taking up hip hop and really not honoring their past and their histories that they come from. And these community members, which I see as the heroes of the community, um, who gather these kids, they see it as really important that the kids have something that they can claim as their own. And um, as I'll explain soon, it plays a really important community function. But I basically also learned in that time, it was only a month and a half that I made this happen, and it was almost magic that when you do something that's giving, it really has a magic. And that's what's so amazing about social entrepreneurship. Just to quickly define social entrepreneurship, it's entrepreneurship, which is being seeing a gap in your environment, in a market, connecting a customer to a market, and basically doing so in such a way that's socially comprehensive and aiming for welfare above just profit. Still need profits in order to keep going, but basically your objectives are different. But anyways, the magic of giving. I want to just tell you what's really happened in the last 3 years since the creation of the DVD. It's been absolutely incredible. I ended up at the Gallatin School of Individualized Study at NYU. That's a school I've landed up, and I didn't know at the time, but it turns out that is the most ideal school I could have ever been at ever, because they they actually allow me to create my own education. So I've dedicated my education to social entrepreneurship and cultural revitalization. And they allow me to take courses throughout all departments within NYU, to get enrolled at any school in the world for up to even 2 years, to create my own courses, and so on and so forth. But I've really taken advantage of that because last in the American fall, Northern Hemisphere, the fall of 2013, um, I was part of the inaugural class of Watson University, which was just such an incredible opportunity that was opened up by this work I've done, and the network that I was created through that. And basically, I was surrounded by other like-minded young individuals in a program where they support your ideas and connect you to mentors and funders, and other things, and help you realize what the path of a social entrepreneur is. So that was amazing thing that's come from this path I've taken. And also me being here in Cape Town, I'm here for 20 months while I'm completing a degree in NYU. So I'm able to learn things that are relevant to Cape Town and to South Africa in UCT, and then apply that with my work. Just to tell you about the cultural opportunity that we have here in Cape Town, I'm starting by taking my house out in Khayelitsha and converting it into an Umbiyozo hub for the 12 groups that we have now, which comprise about 250 kids. That garage that garage space here on the left is going to be turned into a dance space. Um, the picture in the middle is the inside, which will be a meeting space where we'll be able to push ideas forward of how we can sustain our groups. And on the right will be an area that will be turned into a stage and performance area when visitors come through. And just to emphasize what Umbiyozo is all about, it was mentioned in my introduction, but these communities are already doing what they need to by their own before I came along. I'm just there to help them to help themselves. These groups are basically an alternative to gangs. Gangs provide belonging, a revenue stream, and a recreational activity after school. but they're antisocial. Traditional song and dance groups are something that's rooted and relevant to the culture and are pro-social and are positive spaces. So we're trying to provide opportunities for the groups to grow, dance training, um, opportunities to perform, consigning products to them such as the Umbiyozo DVD, um, and basically, yeah, we're supporting them. And one of the ways we supported them was a community concert at Builembo Village in Kailicha, a couple days ago on Heritage Day, where we got 99 kids together over there who would have otherwise been doing nothing for their Heritage Day. So that was a really gratifying moment for me and for all the kids. Um, I just want to leave you with to the idea of to imagine a culture revitalized. Um, so just as culture defines you, so you define culture. Meaning there's a sense of agency that you need to have when you engage your world. Yes, there is a history that you are basically a recipient of, but you also can create history. You can also see what needs to be created in your environment and do something out of your own willpower. Um, and social entrepreneurship is today's tool to do so. We know we need a new mode of business. It's unsustainable as it stands today, and we need to just imagine a new future. Thank you.